Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to One Coffee with Kavana. You can see that I'm in India. I came here, this is the gate of India in Delhi. Yeah, because I want to talk with my friend Arjun Hardas. He's the India representative at American Jewish Committee. So, I want to, you know, a great welcome to Arjun to One Coffee with Kavana and sponsored by the German Jewish Museum in Santiago, Chile. So, welcome to the show, and we will spend, quite a few minutes talking about what someone in India is doing something for Israel, and this is amazing.
Namaskar, Roberto. Buenos dias. And thank you for inviting me for the show. I've heard a lot about it, especially from my office colleagues and my dearest colleague who looks after South America and Latin America, Dina von Siegel. So I'm very honored to have been invited to your show. And yes, you're right. I'm in a very unique position the kind of position that I occupy is a very unique one that didn't even exist over 30 years ago, just about 30 years ago. So, and as a certain politician in India once said that, Arjun, how are you with AJC? You're neither American nor Jewish nor a committee. So how do you exactly represent?
Yeah.
So
anyway, thank you again.
Yeah.
And when we were talking with friends and relatives here about that, we were going to talk with someone in India. Said, how come? And I know there are some Jews there. So, can you tell us about the history of Jewish people in India and Sri Lanka?
I will tell you, it's really fascinating because the way history goes, of course, no one is certain about what happened, when it happened, etc. There are speculations, etc. But there are we have a different type of Jews, as in different ethnicities, in the sense they're known by different names. So the oldest Jews who came to India were tentatively around 2,000 years plus. They came probably before the Second Temple, the fall of the Second Temple. So which is really old, and I would venture to guess that they came to India before they probably went to anywhere else in the world, Europe, Americas, or anywhere else like that. So they were in India was the first foreign country, so to say, that they ever ventured to. As a matter of fact, the word India, Hodu, is mentioned in the Tanakh quite often because there was trade that was happening in between India and what Judea, if you can call it that, at that time in the Jewish kingdoms, years ago, centuries ago, millennia ago. So they knew about India. So it is not like it wasn't an unknown place for them that of Christopher Columbus going into the ocean trying to find something that he didn't know about. In this case, the Jews knew where they were going. They knew what India was. Hodu.
Okay.
So as I started off, the first batch tentatively came about 2,000 years ago. They came to the state of Kerala, otherwise known as the Malabar coast at that time. And the story goes is that when the first Christian person turned up in the Indian subcontinent, that is Saint Thomas, he was greeted on the shores of Kerala by a Jewish girl playing the flute. So there's a story of that as well.
Okay.
Then we have the relatively newer people who are now the majority in the Bombay, Maharashtra state region, which are known as the Bene Israeli. And so they have been there about the 7th century, 8th century onwards. Then we have a group of Jews who came to Calcutta, which was, as we in our history, we call it relatively recent, which is around middle of the 18th century. They came, so they're known as the Baghdadi Jews because they came from Baghdad, mostly for trading, etc. But many of them stayed on in Calcutta and built a community there. Sephardic background is when they came, and then from Baghdad, then from Syria, etc. But collectively known as the Baghdadi Jews. Then there are small pockets of Jews very small pockets in cities of Hyderabad, Bangalore, but all indigenous. not foreign Israelis or as I said, not European Jews or something like that. Sri Lanka has a very interesting history to it. Is that for many years, many years, there was a German Jewish lady who was there, and she was married in 1948. She was from Germany. She was born in Germany. Her parents in Essen, as a matter of fact, and her parents sent her to England just at the time of the rise of Hitler. So there she lived, she studied, she became a nurse, and then right after the war, she married a Sri Lankan doctor, at that time Ceylonese, and they moved to Sri Lanka in 1948. So as the matriarchal system goes in Judaism, their children were Jews. Of course, they're scattered all over the world now. That's a different thing. And there is a small bunch of people whose background is not yet very clear, but they say they're mostly living in Israel, but they have come and settled in Israel, in Sri Lanka, and they claim that they are Sri Lankan Jews, and their ancestry were the Dutch burgher Jews from the 12th century, 13th century. They came around that time. So this is what we have. In numbers, we are pretty small. Our Jewish population at its peak, which was just before the establishment of the State of Israel, was about 80,000. Now we are down to about 80,000. Yes.
Wow.
And so we are now about, depends who you ask, but there are about 4,500 Jews in the Bombay region, Bombay and Greater Bombay region, and about 5,000 approximately is the ones I did not mention just now, are the ones in the northeast. They're known as the Bene Menashe, the children of the tribe, one of the lost tribes of Israel, one of the 10 lost tribes. So the Menashe tribe, the children of Menashe. So those are there as well.
And they are also in Bombay, or they are in the...
No, they're in the northeast. They're in the states known as Mizoram and Manipur, in the northeast of India.
Okay. So northern to Delhi.
Northeast, towards Calcutta and to the eastern part, towards the Burma-China border. That's right, Tibet side.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay.
That's right.
So we are talking about a population in between 18,000 to 20,000 around. Jews living in less?
No, much less. About close to less than about 10,000. That's all we've got now. So because many of them make aliyah nowadays because of economic reasons or whatever, or they have family there, so they move to Israel, and not for persecution, not because they were persecuted here, but because of economic and family reasons. Now, I must also add this, that the Jews have had a history here in India of zero anti-Semitism and persecution. Because India, not even one instance, except sometimes during the Portuguese occupation of Goa and that region, because the history of the Portuguese and the Inquisition, etc. And so those are the people who faced. So Goan Jews faced, and some of them are rumored to be also conversos out of that, who are now Catholic practicing. But there are rumors about that. But besides that, there have been zero anti-Semitism, zero attacks on Jews of any kind. For the simple reason, people do ask, how did that happen? Because India is tolerant. Well, I don't use the word tolerant, because tolerance means that you're just about tolerating something. No, we're not. They are Jews of India are Indians. They're no different than me and anybody else in my country. And the reason is also because India does not have a Judeo-Christian tradition. It's a different kind of a thing here, as you know, Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, etc. So the concept of the history or the original trope of Jews being responsible for the death of Christ, it's unfortunate, and thank God the Second Vatican in 1964 has repulsed it, has got it out of it. But that has been the old story, and India does not have that tradition. So somebody says Jews were responsible for the death of Christ. Well, that has nothing to do with us. That's another country, another people.
It's easier. Well, let me go, and this is good to know about the history of Judaism in India. But let's go to the present, and we would like to know what is someone in India doing for the American Jewish community.
The AJC office here was set up our representation was set up almost 30 years ago, thanks to our previous CEO. And it was his idea to that because I don't know if you've heard this, but Shimon Peres is said to have used the phrase that the AJC is like the foreign ministry of the Jewish people globally. We go to places, we have access to places which normally, let's say, Israelis cannot go, or other people, similar associates cannot go. So we have access to such places, and AJC had this concept sensibly. It's a very good idea, actually, that why would India not be in? Why is there no relation between AJC and the Indian people, which didn't make any sense at that time, 30 years, 35 years ago, 40 years ago. So therefore, there was a representation set up, and it's flourishing since then. Diplomatic relations, coincidentally, were set up just about a couple of years after that. In 1992, we have had diplomatic representation, but at the full diplomatic relations of ambassadorial exchange and embassies has happened only in 1992. Now, I must also mention that despite the excellent relations between the Jewish people, the Indian people, the Israelis, the Indians, in 1948, when Israel declared independence, or even let's go back to that, 1947, 29th November, at the UN vote at the United Nations for the partition of Palestine, India voted against the partition. Not because it was against the state of Israel or a state for the Jews. The reason was basically that India did not, and officially does not as yet, endorse that a religion makes a state. So Pakistan had been formed just 4 months before that, in August 1947, on the basis that Muslims form a nationality. So we said, how can we accept that? Because there are Muslims living in India as well. So how can you say that nationality is dependent on one's religion? So that was the reason India did not vote in favor of Israel at that time. But it just so happened that there was a de facto recognition in 1950, 17th September 1950, which coincidentally is also the exact birthday of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And he was born exactly on that day, 17th September 1950 in India. And then we have had there has been a Jewish agency representation in Bombay because we helped with Aliyah, etc., and which eventually became a consulate. But full diplomatic relations, as I said, were established in 1992 at the embassy level. So since then, it's had its ups and downs, of course, which is normal, which is fine. But they've reached a level now where literally I can say with quite certainty is, although I'm not privy to everything, is that the closest of consultancies and consultations happen between the two countries. Let me also say this, that some of our topmost personnel in our military, in civil society, in mayors, political, etc., have been Jewish Indians. And people will know that history is that in 1971, when the full India-Pakistan war over the independence of Bangladesh happened, the chief of staff, the man who organized the entire operation, which was done from India's Army's Eastern Command, was a Jewish general. He's the one who took the surrender of the Pakistani chief of staff, of the Pakistani general in Dhaka. So we have had Jews everywhere. And of course, we don't promote them, and we don't promote them or put them into positions because they're Jews. It's because they're competent.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That's important. So, and on a day-to-day basis, which will be your duties for this work that you do at the American Jewish Committee in India?
So I have been representing AJC in India since 2015. This is going to be my 10th year. 2014, sorry, December. So yes. I complete 10 years. We obviously work on a slightly different way than let's say the work that happens in my colleagues who work in Israel, of course, itself, and in Latin America, in Europe, and North America, in the Americas, etc. It's a different because the presence of a Jewish presence and the focus on Israel per se is much, and the presence of Israel in the national psyche in all these countries is much larger than what it is in India. So obviously in our Indian psyche, so to say, Israel is there, of course, but it's not that large as it is in the West. So my work is relatively slightly different, but at the same time, I also follow what are our AJC guidelines right from the beginning, from 1906, when we were founded 118 years ago. which is promotion of democratic values, human dignity. We had human rights earlier, we promoted to human dignity, rule of law, promotion of rule of law, rights of all minorities, not just Jewish minorities in our countries, in India and Sri Lanka as well, and other countries. And the threat of Iran is also discussed. Now, we are, as you probably well know, we are not a lobby group. We are an advocacy group. So we have partners. We talk to our partners in government, in civil society, in media, who then we convey what we have to say and give our. So, example, if the Iranian threat, and especially like this recent air attack, which happened by Iran a few months ago, we raise this point with our interlocutors, with our partners, that look at this is how Iran, for example, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, said Israel should be wiped off the map of the world. So we raised these points that this is what is going on. And then, of course, with the Hamas attacks 9.5 months ago, India was the first country to condemn this. One of the first to condemn this, and our Prime Minister called up the Israeli Prime Minister to convey his regrets. India has also got relations with the Palestinian people, but those are separate. We do not conflate both. We do not make any kind of a this and that. There is a relationship with Israel. There is a relationship with the Palestinians. But that's going to be completely separate at different levels. Even when our Prime Minister went to Israel in 2017, his first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister, he went there. He did his 1 week, 4 days, whatever it was, visit. Came back to India. The next year, he went separately to Ramallah. He did not go to Jerusalem. He did not go to Tel Aviv. He went to Ramallah, called on Abu Mazen. He called up the Palestinian leadership, did what he had to do, give grants, aid money, whatever was the agenda, and came back. He flew from Amman. He did not land in Tel Aviv and then in Jerusalem and Ben Gurion and fly from there. So this is what we do. Now, I work on other aspects as well, including Holocaust education, and which is in India, it's known, especially in today's world, it's a known fact of what happened with the Jews. But the idea of bringing in the uniqueness of the Holocaust, of the Shoah, what exactly happened? It's not a, so to say, and I hate to use that word, but a regular genocide. It was a unique event. So what happened? Why did it happen?
Let me go and stop to this point. When you're talking about, you're educating about the Shoah, the Holocaust, what kind of programs do you have in India about this specific item?
We're working with the United Nations in that. One of them in January, for example, we had offered to bring in teachers, which was not required initially, but later, is to bring in teachers as part of the UN. There was a teaching session for school level teachers between the Central Board of Education, our Indian National Central Board of Education, and the United Nations to train teachers on Holocaust education, to explain the whole thing so that they can convey. Diary of Anne Frank, for example, is in certain states, it is taught at grade 8 level. So at different schools, different levels.
They learn about the Anne Frank. Okay.
Yes. So that is one thing which I'm working on. It's not that simple because we have to work at the state level, then we have to work at the central level, then governments change, and then we have to go back to square one to start with the new Minister of Education to bring it into this curriculum. So right now it's in the process of bringing in Holocaust education into the curriculum, make it into a part of a general curriculum of Indian education, of the Central Board. So that's one thing which is going on. I've had I and others, in collaboration with the Israeli embassy, we work on webinars and seminars. I bring in an Israeli diplomat to speak sometimes on Yad Vashem, on Holocaust education, on what has happened, anti-Semitism, combating anti-Semitism. We find similarities of how things have happened in the world, how the signs are coming in of things happening again at some places in Europe and America with the recent events, as you know. So this is the kind of thing. It's a slow process, but it's effective. People listen in India. As a matter of fact, I must also say this, that there was a poll held a few years ago in India, and the poll was where they said that almost 66 to 68% of Indians are in favor of Israel, higher than any other country in the world. So there are elements which are in every country who do not like Israel and they don't agree with its policies, etc. But it's far different from that, from a majority.
Good. And if we are looking about the collaboration between Israel and India, there are some projects going on, maybe in technology, maybe in electric vehicles. What can you tell us about that one?
One of the biggest projects that is going on is in the field of agriculture and water. There has been collaboration in clean water and water recycling and desalination plants, which have been, for example, there's a desalination plant set up in the south of India, which has been operational for quite some time. As you may recall, there was a photograph of Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu when he went to Israel in 2017. There was a photo op of them standing on the shores of Haifa, close by, in water, with their shoes, with their trousers rolled up, and there was a vehicle next to them, a jeep, and that jeep
Yes.
was the one that was carrying the technology of water gen, of water from air.
Ah.
So India was given one of these jeeps as a gift. The Prime Minister was given to take it back to India and to show how this is. Now WaterGen has an office in India, and they're working at different levels. That is one example. Agriculture, I will tell you, is booming. Israel brings in its agriculture expertise, which, as everybody knows, is the primary is, of course, drip irrigation, which is a byword in Israeli agriculture, but also agricultural efficiency, agricultural methodology. And this is done through the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, not from the government separately, by the Ministry of Agriculture. By the Foreign Ministry, they have a department called Mashav, which you may have heard of, and they collaborate. So there are these centers of excellence which are being set up. The goal approximately is about, I think, 30 centers all over India, and slowly they bring it up. So we have the Mashav ambassador, the Mashav representative, who comes here and works in the villages in different states all over India. So this is another collaborative which is happening. And this gentleman doesn't sit in the embassy. He goes out into the field in the heat, and he works directly with the farmers to show them the best practices. So this is the kind of thing. And one last thing I will mention in this also, there is a program for adoption of Indian villages. So any village which has got about 1,500 and above people is being adopted to work to bring in the best agricultural and other practices to improve life generally. Water, agriculture is being adopted by different the embassy, the Mashav adopts these villages and brings the practices to them. So this is the biggest
There's
thing.
a lot of different projects going on in India with along with Israel.
A lot.
And if we, AGC, American Jewish Committee, is there any program between India, Israel, and the States?
Yes, there is. Of course, everybody knows about the Abraham Accords. That is primarily between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and Morocco and others. But in this case, there was when President Biden went to Israel couple of years ago, and there was a trilateral and a quadrilateral which happened. Our foreign minister, Dr. Jaishankar, went there. And bilaterals are going on and quadrilaterals are going on. So there is a informal kind of a setup called the I2U2, which stands for Israel and India and United States and UAE. So that is formed, and there is a joint collaboration happening, taking the best offerings from each country. So a couple of years ago, for example, a year and a half ago approximately, there was an agreement signed where how they will use the best, what can the best be offered by each country. So there was an agreement signed where India will provide the factory space, the manufacturing space, UAE provides the money, Israel provides the technology, and United States probably the market. And the agreement in this case was signed that there will be a food park which will be established in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, and there is going to be a solar park which is going to be formed in the state of Gujarat. So that I haven't checked out the latest status of that, but that is in progress. So there are these. So bilaterals become trilaterals. There'll be
and that will be for another coffee with Kavana, because and this will be maybe next year we can do it, because
yes.
we would like to talk about this project. As we can see here, if we can join forces, and this is the good thing about what AGC is doing, and also what we guys are doing and promoting this type of collaboration. You are putting the factories in India. UAE is putting the money, so it's funding. US is putting the market, and the technology is being brought from Israel. So
Yes.
4 different countries are gaining at the end of this day. And what is important is not only the countries, also the people working there is getting all the benefits for this type of projects.
Correct.
Amazing.
Correct. And the collaborations that are happening between the Israelis and the Indians, I mean, it's like they work so close together. I mean, it's literally the kind of thing you can walk into each other's office in India. You know, the diplomats walk into the MEA, Ministry of External Affairs. Those guys walk in. There's general meetings happening. There is collaboration on tourism, for example, on agriculture. I've mentioned space and defense. Very close collaboration, of course, which we don't know anything about in defense, of course. Bilateral visits are multifold. There is water. There is cultural exchanges. For example, one of the top Fauda actors has even acted in an Indian movie and series, TV series, OTT series, and people love Fauda in India. You know, as soon as they heard that he's in town, there was a beeline for the Consul General's office in Bombay. That can we get an invitation? Can we meet him? So people love it. Both places. Israel is going for. India is sending movie shoots. Is now happening in Israel in some cases. Well, of course, before all this started, but so it's best of friends.
It's amazing. Okay, yes, I mean, I can see that India and Israel they're really good friends, and 30 minutes, we are almost over. I mean, this has been a really good, nice conversation, and I have 2 questions. You're in India.
Oh.
Tell me what is your favorite dish in India?
Indian dish or Israeli dish?
No, Indian dish.
Indian dish. Oh, there are so many of them. If I say something, one other side of region of India will attack me on this, you know. But if I want to put it like that, I would say pasta.
Pasta. No,
Pasta. I love pasta.
Yeah, I do love pasta, but
and dumplings.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, this was kind of a nice thing to kind of end the show. And Arjun, I would really like to thank you about your time. It has been very nice to bring all this to the audience, especially when you are in the west part of the world. And it's a lot of knowledge here. There's a lot of culture that we have received today. And I would like to invite all the audience to the next show, because we're having a show and another show and another show, and everything is very nice. Everybody who's coming to the show is giving such a different little completing the whole idea of what we are talking about Judaism around the world. So thank you again, Arjun, and I will tell everybody bye-bye from India in New Delhi.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Roberto. See you later.
Bye-bye.